Hey kids, sorry I'm not here today for this lesson. So I thought the next best thing would be for you to have me on video. So feel free to pause this whenever you need to kind of catch up. But today we're talking about how the burden of taxes are shared amongst buyers and sellers. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the price control thing that we talked about yesterday. So let's first define a new vocab word, and that's tax incidence. And the definition of this is the manner at which the burden of tax is shared among buyers, sellers. Now, when you think about that, it depends on the type of item, right? If it's a necessity versus a luxury, the sellers can put more of the tax on the buyers, or they're going to have to eat more of it depending on if it's elastic or inelastic. So let's look at the first example. So the scenario is a 50-cent tax is levied on sellers per ice cream cone. What are the effects of this law? So the government puts a 50-cent tax, and then the question is, okay, does that 50-cent tax, does the seller need to take all of it, or can they put some of it on the buyers? So the first thing is the tax is going to be applied to the sellers, which causes let's draw our S&D curves here. S&D. So if I put a tax, remember, that is going to decrease our supply. So we're going to have a decrease in supply. So this is going to shift it backwards. And right now, here's our equilibrium. That's our PE. So now, if we shift it backwards, the amount from this point down to this point, this is the amount of the 50-cent tax. So with that, we do know a few things. The price went up. The quantity went down. But because these are both unit elastic, the tax is shared. So essentially, 25 cents went on the buyers and 25 cents went on the sellers. Okay, now let's look at the next one. So now this scenario, there's a local government passes a law requiring buyers of ice cream cones to send 50 cents to the government for each ice cream cone they buy. What are the effects of this particular law? So again, let's draw our S&D. Now, if this is to buyers, that means it's going to affect our demand. So if it's to buyers, now some people are saying, you know what, I don't really want to buy ice cream anymore, so I'm going to have a decrease in demand. Now again, if this is my PE, so I know that the tax is going to decrease my demand, which is going to decrease the price and decrease the quantity. But again, because these are unitary elasticities, if I go up from here to here, this is the tax, and it is in fact shared. Again, because they are unitary elasticities. Now, in the end, here I have a tax on sellers. Here I have a tax on buyers, but because these are both unit, the end result is the same thing. Each, the buyer and the seller, are going to share that tax of 25 cents each. So, tax levied on buyers or sellers. Same impact. Okay, so now let's look at what happens if the elasticity changes. So let's look at how is the burden of tax shared when there's an inelastic demand. So let's go ahead and make